If you're currently trying to grow on Instagram, then you're likely underestimating the power of the DM. Direct messaging is a super powerful feature for connecting with your followers and potential followers one-on-one. In today's video, I'm going to share 3 tips for developing an effective DM growth strategy for Instagram. Let's go. Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Steckly, and here on YouTube, I love to share all of my best tips and advice about social media marketing and creative entrepreneurship. The first tip to this strategy is probably not something you would expect, and that is make sure you are DMing regularly with your existing followers. You cannot underestimate how significant this is in boosting your engagement with your existing audience. DMs really are a special feature on Instagram because it allows you to connect with somebody one-on-one in a real-life conversation. It might not seem that important, but think about how special that personal touch is if you were reached out to by one of the accounts that you follow and really admire, and they were talking to you on a one-on-one basis, having a conversation. It would feel really cool because you're getting that contact with somebody that you really appreciate the content of. So you can do the same thing by reaching out to your followers, and you really can't underestimate how significant of an interaction that is. So not only does it help to build trust, build a relationship, and get your current followers more excited about the content that you're creating, but it also has a positive impact on the algorithm. When Instagram sees that 2 accounts are interacting frequently with each other in the DMs, then the algorithm is more likely to serve both of those accounts content from one another because it's clear that they're interested in each other, and they'll likely spend more time on the app if they are served content from the other person. So by interacting with your followers in the DMs, therefore, they are more likely to see your content in their feed, whether that's, grid posts or story posts. So if you feel like your engagement is low, you're not getting the likes and comments that you're used to, DMing with a bunch of your followers and building that stronger connection is definitely going to help raise your engagement. Now you might be wondering how this is really connected with a growth strategy, right? We want to get new followers, not just interact more with the ones we have. Well, this is an essential building block of starting this DM growth strategy because really there's no reason in attracting a bunch of new followers to an account that is not really something people are engaging with, because people will maybe start following you and likely will slowly stop seeing very much of your content and won't ever really interact with it or become, a really loyal and excited follower. So you want to work on making sure that your engagement rate is really solid before you really go out and try to bring a bunch more people into the mix, because the higher your follower count is, the lower that engagement rate is just going to keep getting. So the sooner you can get your engagement rate really solid, the better, and then you can move on from there and start going out and getting more followers. I just really believe it's important to get your relationship building, your community building skills really down pat before you try to go out and get a ton of new followers, because you're not going to be able to nurture that relationship with those new followers very well if you haven't demonstrated that with your current followers. So this is a really great starting point to get your engagement really good and to practice what it's like to take somebody from being a sort of indifferent follower into being obsessed with your content. Because once you can do that once, you can repeat it for multiple people, and soon enough, you'll have a large following that is very excited about the content you're making. So start off your DM strategy by getting in touch regularly with your current followers. The next step that you need to take in your DM growth strategy is figuring out where your ideal follower hangs out on Instagram and then going there. If you're not sure who your ideal follower is or how to find out who they are, I have a whole video on it you can check out. But basically, once you have a sense of who you would like to bring into your community, you need to go where they're spending time, whether that's in hashtags, location tags, in the comments of industry leaders' posts, in the tagged photos of industry leaders' accounts, whatever that looks like for your niche, go there and start interacting with people. Maybe you want to follow some people that you think are your ideal client or your ideal follower and start interacting with their content on a one-on-one basis. So liking their photos, commenting on their photos, get a sense of who they are and how you can provide value to them. That is honestly the most significant part here, and something that far too many people totally overlook. You have to always be thinking, how can I serve this person? How can I provide value to them? Way too many people that reach out to me asking about growth strategies are totally focused on just, how can I get more followers? How can I get more likes? How can these people, help further my career? But the fact is, if you have that mentality, nobody's going to want to follow you because they don't get anything out of it. You need to make sure that your content and your account in general is providing something worth following. If you're struggling with this concept, think for a minute about who you follow, who are some of your favorite accounts on Instagram, who's always popping up in your feed that you appreciate the most. If you think about it, I'm sure that every single one of them is providing some sort of value to you, whether it's entertainment, inspiration, encouragement, or education. There's something that you are getting out of following them, or else you wouldn't be following them. You're not going to follow somebody just because they're like, please follow me, I want to be an influencer. So why would somebody do that for you? In all of these circumstances, you really need to think about, what am I providing? How can I help this person, or, add something to their lives? Whenever you're entering into one of these interactions, whether it's commenting and liking on somebody's profile or following them with the intention of building that relationship, you just need to always keep in mind, what can I do for them? Not just, how can I get them to follow me? You really want to spend this time figuring out who your ideal follower really is and learning about these people that you are going to start building a DM conversation with. Figure out who they are, what they like. Are they suitable for joining your audience? Are they potentially going to become a paying client of you one day? If the answers to some of those questions are yes, then you want to continue pursuing that and then move on to the next step, which is sending your first DM. All right, step 3, it's time to actually execute and start sending messages to your potential followers. Like I was saying, you've got some sense of what you are able to offer to these people, what value you can provide. But this message is not going to be a pitch. You don't want to come across like you're selling something, even if the only thing that you're selling is the free opportunity to follow you on Instagram. It's still not going to come across well if you're trying to pitch something to somebody. Here's what you are going to do instead. You're going to send them a message that is thoughtfully constructed based on the content that they have on their profile, their bio, anything that you can gather about who they are, and you're going to send them a compliment and a question. Why does this strategy work? For 2 very simple reasons. People love to be complimented and people love talking about themselves. So if you can show interest in learning something about somebody, they're way more likely to respond. And here's the thing, it is your responsibility to really care about what their response is and then reply in a considerate fashion. So you don't want to be doing this just making people feel like you care, because that's kind of skeezy. You want to actually care what they say. And here's why it actually benefits you. Not only are you building a relationship with someone who might follow you, might become a client someday, but you're also doing very valuable market research. This is somebody that you've identified as an ideal follower, and you can learn a lot more about who they are and what their needs are through this conversation. But I wouldn't ask them a question saying like, what's your biggest struggle, or how can I help you, or whatever, because it's really going to come across as like a survey or market research. Instead, you want to start the conversation like you would with somebody that you actually want to become friends with. So let's talk about an example. Let's say, for instance, you are a food blogger that focuses on making tasty vegan recipes for new millennial home cooks. That's your niche. That's who you want to go and find. What you're going to do is browse hashtags, maybe the location tags of restaurants in your area that serve the kind of food your people want to eat, and go and see who is posting there, who is engaging there, and then maybe follow a couple profiles, see who's hanging out there, and see how you can engage with them. After you've done some more research and you've found some profiles of people that you think are going to be really great candidates for becoming a part of your community, you're going to reach out and send a message. Let's say you came across somebody's profile that has some pictures of the food that they're making. So perfect, they love to cook, so they might be interested in my recipes. What you're gonna do is press that little message button and be like, hey Tom, just wanted to say that I love your food pictures, look super tasty. I'm curious, do you have a suggestion, or what's your favorite vegan meal you've prepared lately? Like, I'd love to hear some ideas. This is a great way to just start a natural conversation. You're complimenting them, saying that you like their photos, so it's obvious that you've taken time to look at their profile and appreciate what they're creating, and then you're asking them a question that they are likely interested in speaking to. This is a great way to just start a genuine conversation and eventually build a relationship. You have to remember throughout all of this, you're not focusing on the numbers, you're not focusing on people as a follower count. You're trying to actually build a community of people that you recognize the names of, that you know a little bit about, and you know how you can help them, because that is how you're going to start genuine growth at the beginning of your Instagram journey. And speaking of that, a lot of people would probably have questions about this strategy because it just seems so labor intensive. And the truth is, it is. It takes a lot of hard work to do all of this. It is not scalable. A lot of people, when they start out on Instagram, are looking for this viral, sort of passive Instagram growth. But that is not going to start happening for you unless you put in the legwork at the beginning and do this very non-scalable, very labor-intensive work. That is how you're going to actually get new followers to build a community that eventually will snowball and grow on its own a little bit more. Does this take a lot of work? Yes. But is it something practical and actionable that you can put in place today and start seeing results of slow growth? Yes, it is. I think that when you're very first getting started on Instagram, you can't expect that you're going to be gaining thousands of followers every day. That's not going to happen. You need to build your way up to that, and this is a building block that will get you started down that path. And it's not just for small accounts either. It's something that you can implement if you feel like your engagement or your growth has gotten a bit stagnant. It's a way to revive that relationship with your followers and then start bringing new people into the community. So with that being said, let's tackle some of the questions that you guys sent me about using DMs to grow. The first question is, what kind of message should I send them? I usually go through their feed and give constructive feedback, but that's sort of a hit or miss method. What do you suggest? So to be honest with you, it does not surprise me that this is a hit or miss method for you. I would really recommend not giving people any kind of feedback on their Instagram as if you're trying to help them improve. That's never gonna come across well. People are probably gonna feel offended by that. Even if it's positive, even if it's nice, it just feels a little like, I didn't ask you. So instead, I would suggest using the method that I recommended earlier, which is compliment and a question. Never ever give people any kind of like negative or constructive feedback, because it's in your first interaction, it's not going to go well. Even though my entire internet persona is giving people advice about their Instagrams, I have never once DM'd someone cold and said, this is what you could improve on your Instagram. It's not going to go over well. The second question is, how often should I be replying to DMs? So my suggestion would be every single DM you get that is not spam, a bot, or harassment, I would respond to, because that means it's somebody that has a question or is interested in you or whatever. I would reply to them because they're likely to become a more engaged follower if you do respond to those DMs. That being said, if you start to get overwhelmed with the number of DMs you have, I will admit there are some that I don't always take the time to respond to if I get the sense that the person who sent it to me did not really take much time to send it to me. So for example, if I get a DM from a stranger that just says hi or hello, I'm not going to reply to it, because to me it's like, okay, well, do you have a question? If you do, just send me the question directly and then I will respond to it. So I would recommend really reply to pretty much all of them if you can. And then how often should you be doing that? I personally try to check my DMs like at least twice a day and reply to all of them, mostly because I can't stand seeing that icon in the top right-hand corner that says I have unread messages. So pretty much when I wake up in the morning, I'll reply to all the DMs that I got since I went to bed. And then later on in the day, I'll probably sit down and reply to all my DMs again when I'm kind of doing my Instagram engagement time. And then honestly, I also reply to them as they come in, depending on if it's from somebody that I recognize and want to get back to. But I would say setting aside time twice a day is probably a good routine to get into. The third question is, how do you find the right person to DM? This is probably the most significant part of this whole strategy, because if you're just DMing everybody and anybody, it's gonna take way more time to get the kind of... Oh my gosh, that startled me so much.
20 minutes later.
Okay. All right, now that the fire alarm stopped going off, the next question is, how do you find the right person to DM? And this is a really important question, probably the most significant piece to this entire strategy working, because if you're sending DMs to anyone and everyone, it's gonna take you a really long time to actually find the ideal follower that's gonna be interested in your content. So I keep talking about your ideal follower, and that really is the concept that you need to understand here before any of this DM growth strategy stuff can work. So now that you've got this strategy in place, I really want you to go watch this video video all about how to find your ideal follower, because that is really step one before you can implement any of this stuff. So go watch that next. Before you go though, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you over in this one. Okay, bye.